Pakt has just redesigned their iconic travel backpack into this new version, which is the Pakt 1 travel backpack. We've got the 35-liter version, and in this video, I'm gonna tear this bag apart. In this video, we're gonna pack the bag out, double check its advertised capacity. We're gonna compare it to the previous version as well, so you can see what exact changes were made. And I'm gonna give you my brutally honest pros and cons. And if you're not quite sold that this is the bag for you, you're gonna wanna stick around to the end of the video, where I'll give you some alternative travel bag recommendations that might better suit your needs. Let's talk about the gist of the Pakt 1 travel backpack. If you don't know, Pakt is a carry brand from Bozeman, Montana in the US, and they're known for making killer travel gear. They started with the Pakt 1 duffel, which in my opinion is the best flight duffel in the world. And then from there, they teamed up with bag review extraordinaire Chase Reeves and launched this travel backpack. Well, not this one. And not this one either, because this one's V2, but they had the V1, then it went to a V2, and now we've hit V3. The third and possibly final form. Like I said, we're gonna compare these in just a second, but first, let me tell you about some of the top features of the new design version. The silhouette is classy, not too modern. We've got a front pocket here as well as on the top. And I'm gonna show you why I really like this pocket in the next chapter. We've got one water bottle holder, side handles, which are not my favorite, especially when compared to V2, but more about that in the middle chapter. And then we got Pakt's signature suitcase-style opening with the dividing panel. We've also got an expansion zipper, and underneath that zipper is a hidden new compartment that was not accessible until we expanded the bag. Holy crap, there's a lot of features on this bag. It's already giving me a bit of a headache. This is gonna be a long review. We're gonna get through this, I promise. Then we got an included hip belt. And finally, we have shoulder straps that are stowable, and I'll show you exactly how that works in the back chapter of this review. Now, this is the part of the review where we double check the advertised capacity. And there's so many compartments for this bag. This one's gonna take a minute, but it must be done. And while I'm doing this, I'll sort of explain the different sections and compartments of this bag. It's kind of confusing, but you'll get it. So first up, in the main compartment, like I said, we have this divider. And then we have another mesh divider here, which we are now filling up with our factory grade measurement balls. Then, you flip this guy over, we have the back of the main compartment. All right, we got those fully decked out. And then as mentioned, we've got this expansion gusset. It doesn't go full 360, it just goes from one bottom corner to the other. Because the main compartment is fully packed out, the capacity in here is now compromised, but our measuring system will give you a gist of the overall capacity. We're almost there. Now for the bottom front pocket, it has no capacity of its own when the bag is fully packed out. But the top pocket, we got a bit of room in there. Now before we double check the capacity, let's double check the dimensions. Now that the bag is fully packed out, we got a back panel height of around 20 inches, a back panel width of 12 inches, and a fully packed out expanded depth of around 11 inches. All right, for that front pocket, when the bag is fully packed out, you're getting less than a liter of volume. Front half of the main compartment, minus the 1 liter from the front pocket, it's about 12 liters capacity. Now let's check the back of the main compartment. Oh yeah, we're getting up there. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. That gets us to about 30 liters, which means we had a bit more capacity in the back of the main compartment than we had in the front. And then in the expanded section, when you put it all together, we're at 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 on the dot. And I'd say I probably could have squeezed a bit more in there. So it's advertised at 35, but I'm saying you get like 36, 37. That's what it feels like, somewhere in that range. But it also doesn't, because there's a lot of fabric and compartments that are fighting with each other. I'll explain what I mean when I'm fully packing out the bag 2 chapters from now. Now, one big point of criticism I've had about Pakt's travel bags in the past is how heavy they are. This one claims to be lighter. I'm getting 3.7 pounds on scale number 1, and again, 3.7 pounds on scale number 2, which for 35 liters, it's a good weight. That's right around the sweet spot for me of 10 liters per pound. The Pakt 1 currently comes in 3 color options. This is what the bag looks like when it's empty. And here you can see it fully packed out and worn on the Nomads Nation team. Margaret's 5'2", I'm 5'8", and Jason Bagmoa is 6'1". And don't worry, we're gonna pack out the bag throughout the entire review so you can see exactly what it fits. All Pakt products are backed by their lifetime warranty against manufacturing defects. And for all that, the 35 liter runs around $325 USD. and the 45-liter version runs around 350 USD. And if at any point during this review you're thinking about picking one of these up and you want to make a purchase, we highly suggest doing so using the first link in the description below. Reason being, that link makes sure that you get the best price, and we oftentimes have discount codes. But that link also helps support the Nomadization YouTube channel and team, so we can keep making the best bag reviews on the web. Thank you very much. Now, if you want to get into the meat and potatoes of the review, feel free to skip this section. But if you're curious about the difference between V2 and now V3, let's quickly go over 10 differences that you got to be aware of. And one quick note is I have the 35-liter version of the newest version and the 45-liter version of the old version. So they're gonna look a little bit different in terms of size, but you'll get the gist. First up is just the difference in the aesthetic, as to where you can see the original bag had a different pocket configuration and just a little bit of a shape. It's honestly kind of a redesign in regards to the shape. And the second difference, sort of leading off of that, is going to be the two front pockets. As the old version had a zip pocket here and a second one here, but the new one has a zip pocket here, and then the second one a little bit further north here. Difference number 3, on V2, the expansion was in the front of the bag, versus V3, it's been moved to the back. Difference number 4 is on V2, the main compartment zipper was a chunky YKK, but on the new version, it's smaller. I think it went from a 10 to an 8. Difference number 5 is a downgrade, in my opinion, is going from these chunky side handles to these little dainty things. I don't even know what those are supposed to be. Difference number 6 is gonna be just the overall design and shape of the laptop compartment. Difference number 7 is on V2, the hip belt was not included, versus the new version, it is included, and it also connects via Velcro behind the back panel. I'll show you how that works in the back chapter of this video. Difference number 8 is that V2 had this ridiculous TSA pocket. I thought this was so dumb. I'm sorry. It's no offense, it just didn't work for me. I didn't get it. And Pakt, I think, agreed with me, because as you can see, no TSA pocket on this version of the bag. Thank God. Number 9 is just the difference in the back panel. As you can see, this design varies drastically from the new, smoother design. And last one, that also extends the shoulder straps, as to where the original ones had a breathable mesh underneath, a coarse mesh too. It was a little scratchy, I didn't love that. And they were super thick, versus the new version, thinner and uses a silkier material. Okay, let's sink our teeth in and talk about the front of the Pakt 1 travel backpack. First to discuss is the aesthetic. I think that one of the things Pakt does so well is their aesthetic. Their bags look great. And this travel backpack is a part of a whole new collection where we have these 2 new mode backpacks. Again, they just look great, and the aesthetic is streamlined and consistent between all 3 types of bags. And when I say this, like, I come from a place of appreciation where it's not my vibe. But if you're looking for that sort of like old school heritage look, but really modernized in a minimalist and clean way, I think Pakt and Bellroy are probably your only 2 options, with Pakt kind of doing their own thing though. Like, I don't know, I think this bag looks great. And one contributing factor to that is the new fabric that Pakt is using. Now, it's hard to see with that black version, so let me show you on the mode that we have here so you can see both. And this fabric, I don't have a lot of details on it, but I would explain it sort of like a crinkle nylon. So for instance, if you're familiar with the Air Go series, which is one of my favorite packable backpacks of all time, they use a crinkle nylon. This is very similar to that, but it's also not, because it's a lot stronger and has more structure and has a bit of a sheen to it. I don't know about the long-term durability of this fabric, but I love it right now. I think it's gorgeous. I think it feels great. It's gonna be weather resistant. It's gonna be abrasion resistant, and it's just unique. And that's always a win in the bag world, which is a very saturated market. Pakt's logo right here, very subtle. And then on the front, we have 2 pockets. But before we get into those, let's talk about external lash points, as which we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. These are great for clipping things externally on your bag, hoodie, helmet, yoga mat, and they also can be used to secure your water bottle, but I'll show you what I'm talking about in the next chapter. All right, for those 2 pockets, we've got a bottom one here, protected with a bit of a rain flap, and then a top section right here, which is a bit of an admin compartment. Now, I absolutely adore the copper and black color combination. You can call it clay or brown. I always have, in fact, so much that I built my own backpack brand, quick shout out to Fyro, around these 2 colors. So yeah, I dig this. But it's not just my personal preference. This clay interior also helps to create a bit of a highlight effect, which makes it easier to find what you put where in your bag. Now let's go ahead and pack out these pockets so you can see how they function. So here we have a bunch of travel gear we might want quicker access to. Now keep in mind with this bottom pocket, it looks like it has some volume to it, but again, when the bag is fully packed out, it really didn't. So it's a good spot for some flatter items. Could be your wallet, maybe your AirPods. But the top pocket did have a bit more volume to it. I guess too, it's just kind of because of gravity. And what I mean by that is that a lot of your stuff in the main compartment will fall to the bottom if the bag is upright, which just kind of gives you a little bit extra space here. This sleeve in the back is the perfect spot for a reading book or a tablet. Zippered mesh pocket here. We've got a very small chode-like key leash. So I'm just gonna throw my keys in there. Pakt's mesh is okay. Same thing with these interior materials. I think they feel nice. Not always in line with the price point, but again, if there's one criticism that I've had about Pakt over the years, it's that their bags always feel more expensive than they should be. It's like a nice way of saying that they're overpriced. But it also depends on what you value. Now, one thing I love about this pocket is how deep it is, and you can fit larger bits of gear, for instance, your over-the-ear headphones. This is great because it's an easy location to grab them when you need them. You might get the 35 liter underneath the seat in front of you, but you can definitely obviously use it as a one bag pack. And when it's in the bin overhead, it means grabbing your headphones or something bulkier, like a charger or your gum or your Tylenol. It just makes it a lot easier. Okay, that's about it for the front. Beefier section coming up next though. Let's talk about the middle of the Pakt 1 travel backpack. Now on the sides, we have a water bottle holder, which we'll test out a bit more in depth when the bag is fully packed out, which we get an idea of how well it works. Before we get inside, we have a bottom handle, and you gotta love a good bottom handle on a travel backpack. Because again, when you throw the bag in the bin overhead, sometimes you forget to do it the right way, or maybe there is no right way. When you have a handle on the bottom and on the top, that's the beauty then. There is no right or wrong way because it's easy to grab no matter which direction you place it in. And the top handle are fine, nice nylon webbing, decent grabbing space. No complaints there, but I do have some complaints on the side handles, kind of. As to where the side handles are these guys. Now, let me compare it to the original. And this is one feature that I really loved about the Pakt travel backpack were these handles. And you can see on the original, or technically the V2 version, that they were much bigger and easier to grab. And I really enjoyed this experience as to where, you're waiting in line, trying to board the plane. You don't want to carry the bag on your shoulder anymore. Your shoulders are tired. They've had a long day. So then you can just kind of use these, hold the bag, put it down, pick it back up when you move the 3 feet. Those were cool and very unique. And I thought it gave it a good look. I just liked them. But on the new version, they're small, they're barely usable. I'm only 5'8", my hands aren't that big, but you can see they're even having a hard time fitting in. So a bit of a downgrade from that point, but it's also not a deal breaker, let's be honest. Just something cool about the Pakt bag that I really liked. All right, so now we're into the main compartment. Let me just clarify again the design philosophy, because you basically have one section here and the other section here, and the divider. And then it's kind of, if you think about it, like having 2 small bags in 1 larger bag. Remember, the backside has a bit more depth, so for me, that's where all my packing cubes are going. I got 1 large packing cube and 2 small packing cubes. They're all pretty standard size these days. It's about a week's worth of clothes. And then the divider, you can zip it on up, keep everything nice and tidy. So then on the other side, for me, that's where I'm putting my pouches. I got a shoe pouch, bathroom pouch. I can even do a headphones pouch. Is the switch gonna fit? No, I think I pushed the pouch compartment to its limits. So if you're a very organized person, that sort of separation of church and state, clothes and pouches, it's a very clean way to travel. But one thing to keep in mind is that this bag does feel a little bit bulkier to me than a typical 35 liter. And the reason is you've got a lot of extra fabrics going on as to where this divider, it's kind of thick. It's like this, right? 'Cause it's gotta protect the laptop, which we'll talk about in a second. But that little bit of fabric kind of goes a long way. And then when you've got all these dividers and all these panels and all these complications, you're dealing with a bag that is heavier and bulkier than it not necessarily needs to be, but then other bags that are less complicated. So just keep in mind, with every pro, there's a con. If you want this whole paneled system, you're paying for it in weight, in bulk, and in complications. Laptop compartment though, I think is very well designed. This is where we have this sort of stretchy lid flappy thing at the top. You can see we're gonna slide my cutout of a 16-inch MacBook Pro. Ooh, we're just barely getting that in there. So no 17 inchers, not gonna happen. And even the 16-inch, like that feels tight. But it's very well protected from the actual padding on this section, but also the fact that it's in the middle of your clothes on one side and your pouches on the other. Now here's something I didn't bring up that Pakt included that drives me crazy. but that's just because it doesn't work with my brain. My brain's just like, what's going on? But it could work for you if you're the very organized type. And you can see what I'm talking about, where Pakt is giving you 2 extra zippers. This zipper is the main compartment zipper, where you can see right here, that's the top of the laptop compartment. But then this zipper gets you access to the front, where we currently have the pouches. So then boom, you can grab your pouch very easily. And then this zipper gives you access to the back, where we have our packing cubes. And this is just like one of those things where it just creates extra complications in my brain, and I'm already like traveling and scatterbrained as f. But I will admit, having that access, if you're able to remember it, and knowing, hey, tech pouch right there, easy to grab, it is very well put together from that perspective. And then finally, when you want to expand, you have this gusset, probably gives you extra 4 or 5 liters, somewhere in that range. And this is where, for me, I'm putting a packable backpack. Now, Pakt's got this whole ecosystem going on where their bags are very flat, and I assume this is going to fit very nicely in here. Yep, my assumptions were correct. And then boom, you got the whole travel system. But the good news is that with a slot like that, you can fit other packable day packs. The Ergo pack would fit in there, Matador Fraction, piece of cake, or you can just use it for extra space. Extra clothes, extra tech gear, whatever extra you wanna bring, an extra 4 liters of expansion space can go a long way. But look at this bulk we got going on. I mean, this thing is really bulky when it's fully packed out and expanded. Holy crap. So let's see how it can handle water bottles. Little elasticity on this part here, which might die over time, but is great because it gives the holder more versatility, where my 1 liter Yeti can slide in. We've got a nice amount of height as to where it's 8 inches at the highest point, but only like 6 inches at its lowest point, which doesn't feel very secure to me. So the water bottle is in fact going to slide out even when the bag is fully packed out. But Pakt's like, dude, we know that, so we got your back. What they've done is they've given you little external lash points that can stow away into these little adorable holes. And then what you can do is you can take that lash point, weave it through your water bottle, clip it into place, and then water bottle fall out, no mas. Now with these straps, there are actually 4 of them, as to where there's 1 on every side of the bag. And these tiny little guys are our compression straps, as to where you can clip them into place and then tighten them. Therefore, on this side, securing your water bottle even more. But then on this side, in theory, potentially cinching the bag down, but I don't think they're really gonna work for that. I love the inclusion of the water bottle securing lash point, but the other 3, let's see, let's really tighten this. I mean, that didn't really cinch much, you know? They're just really thin. I'm not sure about how well they're sewn in there. Overall, it's just not something that I really use a lot or trust that much. But perhaps if the bag isn't overly stuffed the way it is now, it might work a little bit better. Now, real fast, before we jump into the next section, I gotta let you know, if you're enjoying this review, I'd like to welcome you again to Nomads Nation, but I also wanna tell you that here at NN, we don't just do epic gear reviews on our YouTube channel, but we also have the Nomads Nation newsletter. And in that newsletter, we take this whole gear thing and crank it up to the next level. I'm talking the newest drops, industry trends, limited edition collabs, and everything in between. You're going to want to sign up to the Nomads Nation newsletter, which you can do by finding this globe emoji in the description below. Hope to see you in your inbox. Let's talk about the back of the Pakt 1 Travel Backpack. At the northernmost point, you can see we have a hanging hook, great for bathrooms. And then let's talk about luggage travel, because I think for most, this is gonna be an ideal backpack for 1 bag travel, literally being your single solo bag. But if you wanna pair it with a suitcase, Pakt has also included a sideways luggage pass-through holder. Now, I don't love sideways luggage pass-through holders. They do have some pros though. They're usually pretty easy to use. This one's not super easy though. Don't fall. So, okay, that's a close call. As you can see, when a travel bag is fully packed out and it's sideways like that, it can be a little challenging to balance and kind of get it on sometimes. But when it's on very well. This is very well stitched, very well constructed. It's not gonna pop out anytime during your travels, but it doesn't really give you great access with the configuration of the pack, as to where if it was upright, these 2 front pockets would be a bit more accessible. Same thing with your water bottle. Now let's talk about the harness system, because I found this backpack to be both comfortable and not too comfortable. On the pros, we have an included hip belt, load lifters, and a well-padded back panel, and a sternum strap. And when you combine these things, especially the load lifters, right, you tighten these, it's nice. And the hip belt, taking extra pressure off your back. Dangle stoppers too, making this little guy happy. Thank you, Pakt. But they didn't include dangle stoppers in the shoulder straps. I don't get it. Like commit to the bit. Is that what you said? Yeah. Commit. Is that what the cool kids are saying? Commit to the bit, Pakt. Either you're pro dangle or anti dangle. You can't swing both ways, dude. See, they included a dangle stopper on the sternum strap and the hip belt, but not the load lifters, where it doesn't really matter that much. But the shoulder straps, that's the most important freaking dangle stopper. Anyways though, comfy on all levels, except for the shoulder straps themselves, which I'm not gonna say they're painful, but they're just very dense. Kind of got a little bit of, I don't know, I mean like, there could be, I wish they put some PU in here, or at least like a PU with a little bit more softness to it, just to have a nice, sort of a pillowy feel. But these are a lot harder. I think it's just EVA foam. I don't even know if they put PU in this. Couple of the quick notes, you have some external lash points in the shoulder straps, great for clipping things on, your sunglasses in particular. Slide them on, slide them off, easy peasy. And it seems like the hip belt is actually removable with some Velcro. Ah, God. Hey, Pakt, can you show Matador how to do this? Because Matador has a hip belt. It's apparently also removable with Velcro. But fun fact, it's not removable. I tried. So that was pretty easy. And then sliding it back on, I assume should also be easy. Wait for it. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Oh, that was freaking magic. That is very well designed. Whose makes the clip? Nifco. I've been seeing some Nifco hardware. Woojin or Duraflex would have been better. Oh crap, and then the last point, almost forgot about this, is that the shoulder straps can stow away, which you can unclip with this metal hardware right here. This is a feature that I personally quite like on travel bags, as to where it just helps to remove a bunch of that excess fabric flopping all over the place. And then you go from this to this. Much cleaner, very nice. Not the cleanest execution I've ever seen. Yeah, no, it actually works really nicely. Some good stuff on this back panel. I'm telling you, if Pakt just made those shoulder straps more comfortable, it knocks it out of the park. But no bag is perfect. So speaking of that, let's transition into the pros and the cons of the Pakt 1 travel backpack. Pro number 1 is the accessibility of the design, especially when it comes to those multiple entry points into the multiple sections of the main compartment. Pro number 2 is I think there's a lot of functionality to be had with this expansion design, whether you're gonna use it for a day pack or just for extra clothes or extra tech stuff. And pro number 3, there's a lot of comfort on this bag, especially with the hip belt and the load lifters. But on the flip side, all bags have cons, and here's my cons for the Pakt 1, is the other side of the comfort as to where the hip belt and the load lifters are great, but I just could have used better shoulder padding on these shoulder straps. Con number 2 is just gonna be how bulky this bag gets. It's not very normal of a bag this size. The thing's freaking huge. And con number 3 is just with the overall design, there is a bit of a learning curve with this bag. And there's just things that you're compromising with extra fabric, extra bulk, and extra complications. So now, drum roll please, we can bring all this together and talk about our overall scores. Before I say the score, important little asterisk, that's how it's pronounced. These scores are completely personal and just based on my personal experience with this bag. First up, for comfort, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I would have given it a solid 4 to a 4.5 if those shoulder straps were a bit better, and if there was dangle stoppers, because it does contribute to the comfortable experience in my opinion. Number 2 is gonna be value. I think for 350 USD, I give it a 3 out of 5. Sure, we're seeing bags of this quality like Tortuga and Evergoods hitting that price point, but there's a lot of bags that are coming in at much lower price points that are still of this quality and give you a ton of features. And for my overall score, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Although it's not 100% the perfect travel bag for me, I love its design, I love its execution, I love the additional emphasis on comfort minus the shoulder straps. And I love how they made it just kind of like a little bit simpler and lighter than the V2, which was a bag that I really liked as well. I'm not always crazy about all of Pakt's bags, but the one collection with this and the one duffel, they're pretty freaking epic. And just a reminder, if you agree and you're thinking about picking one of these bags up, we do recommend doing so with the first link in the description. That's just where you get the best price. And if we have any discount codes, that's what they'll be. But let's say you're still here, you're not quite sold on the Pakt 1, let me give you some alternatives. First up, if you're new to the Nomads Nation channel, you should definitely check out our leaderboard video. This is where myself and the Nomads Nation team, we get together and pick our favorite bags in different bag categories, including travel bags. It's a must watch if you're new to the channel and if you want to get an idea of what the best bags on the market are. And I've gone ahead and linked that above. But if we're pretty close with the Pakt 1 travel backpack, here's 2 alternatives that has some slight differences that might just be a bit more up your alley. Alternative number 1 is going to be the Tortuga Travel Backpack Pro. Great pick for you if you're looking for a larger one bag pack, but you want something that focuses a bit more on comfort, just slightly more, and it has a more traditional user experience. If kind of like this whole suitcase top axis craziness is just like, it hurts your brain the kind of way that it hurts mine. Nothing against this bag, just sometimes I like a simple travel experience. And alternative number 2 is going to be the Peak Design Travel Backpack. Great pick for you if you're looking at this bag and you're like, yo, it's got features, but it doesn't have enough features. I want more. That's what Peak Design does the best, is features. And although it's not a perfect travel backpack for me, I cannot deny its brilliance and the fact that if you just love features, it's gonna be really hard to beat. It's really interesting. Tortuga, Peak Design, they're on polar opposites, and Pakt is sort of like in between. All 3 bags have their own unique set of pros and cons, but to learn more about the alternatives, just go ahead and watch these videos here. If you got any questions about any bags, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Aaron, this is Nomads Nation, and we'll catch you next time.